Thank you. I must say that this place is really cool and also really cold. I hope you can stay awake with this. It's been a long day. Okay, my name is Only. I have a dual role. I have the CTO of GDP Venture and also I'm the CEO and CTO of GDP Labs. I'd like to talk about AI. I think almost every day now you hear about this buzzword. It's getting stronger and stronger every day, right? To the point that people ask me, actually, Mr. Martin Altona once asked me, oh, is this hype or is this real, right? So just like typical any emerging technology, any breakthrough, usually what I did was I start learning, investigating where is this thing come from. Because today with the internet time, our problem is no longer lack of information. If anything, it's like overloaded information. So I want to make sure that we all learn from trusted sources, right? So this guy, Mr. Marvin Minsky, considered as father of AI, right? He's very successful and accomplished computer scientist. As you can see, he co-founded MIT, a very well-known AI lab in the world, right? However, he made a prediction back then. The AI will become reality. I think he was a little bit optimistic, even with good reason, because back then, the AI computer could beat the checker player. But I think he overestimated at that time. The computer power is not as powerful as today. The algorithm not as sophisticated as today. So somehow that became the first hype of this technology. The second hype, it actually happened in the late 80s. This is actually, I was personally involved about this. At that time, I bought that well-known 3 AI handbooks, 3 volumes of them. That's like the Bible for AI back then. I studied from there, and one of my hobbies is actually playing chess. Professionally, I was trained as a computer scientist and computer engineer, so it makes sense for me. At that time, I tried to write computer chess, and then I failed. Right? This is for all the same reason, because expert system, as promising as they were back then, it failed to scale. Because it does not learn from data, and after a while, it's just next to impossible to maintain. They have some limited success at that time, but overall, it fails. Now after that, the second hype, there's a long AI winter, right? People say, hey, this was hype, let's move on and find other thing. So while waiting for that winter, if you look, the technology adoption rates here, starting from electricity, obviously nowadays we don't think electricity as a technology. Same thing, we don't think air conditioning as a technology. Sometimes we even forget now the smartphone, internet and PC as technology. Usually a good technology is like that. They disappear, quote unquote, blend in with our daily life. We just take them for granted, right? Right now when you build a new startup, new company, you never question why. You don't have to justify, oh, we need to build this electricity and air condition, internet, PC and smartphone. That's just given and granted now, okay? If you see, because every time we improve our technology, we become more productive. As a result, if you see the adoption rate is getting faster and faster. Now, I want to give you an example on this. One example, if you see in the 19th century, phone started just as a voice. If you look for the past over 100 years, as of today, the latest smartphone now, it's obviously does more than just phone, more than just voice. In fact, I use my smartphone. I seldom use the voice. Most of the time I use the data for internet and various apps, right? So starting from this area like voice, now there's an app for everything. Same thing with PC. PC started, the killer app of PC back then was PC Calc, the spreadsheet. Maybe many of you are too young to know this. But after that, PowerPoint slides, Word document, Adobe, almost everything you can do with PC now. We use it for our personal life as well as for professional. Internet started the same way too. For consumer internet 20 years ago, it's just text and images. Now we have audio, video, e-commerce, social networking, media, anything you can think of, you can find it on the internet now. So all of this start from niche area and become a general purpose technology. Now, as all after winter, usually there's a spring. So there were, about 10 years ago, there was a major breakthrough in machine learning, specifically they call it deep learning. And like I said, when I learn a breakthrough technology like this, I need to know who the inventors are. So in this particular case, starting from this guy, oops. So on the far corner there, there's a Professor Jan LeCun. And then he's about 58 years old this year. And then the next one is Professor Jeff Hinton. And the next one is Professor Jeff Hinton, about 70 years old now. And Professor Joshua Benjo is about 54 years old. These three professors are considered as the inventor of deep learning, right? And the next one is Professor Andrew This is the co-founder of Coursera, the founder of Google Brain, Bill Baidu AI team, and his latest venture is AI funding. He is only 42 years old. He's like the evangelist for this thing. Basically, there are millions of people actually become his students worldwide, and I'm actually one of them because I did learn from his video, right? So I told my team, if we want to learn machine learning, deep learning the right way, we have to follow this guy, their research paper, their lecturers, their talk, and including their students. Because now their students become the second generation, they also start inventing something new too. Right? So this way, we learn from trusted sources. Make sure we are not lost and learn from the wrong people. Now, why is it called deep learning? Usually, they have input cell, in this case marked by blue circle, and then the green one, the blue one, light blue, for the output. And then somewhere in between input and output, there's a hidden cells. This hidden cell, the simple one, usually they have 5, 6 layers. I think at this point, they are about the most complicated one that I've ever heard, about 150. The deeper, the most hidden layer they have, the deeper it has the layers. So that's why it's called deep learning. I think it's also a good marketing term because it's one syllable and easy to remember. But there's a technical reason behind it, why it's called deep learning. 21 years ago, Deep Blue, even using different algorithm, IBM Deep Blue actually beat chess champion Garry Kasparov. That's about 20 years ago. So that's why the term deep actually has a special meaning in this community. Now, many of you don't realize that you have been using AI technology, you benefit from this. These are just some of examples, right? If you use a search engine, whether that's Google or Bing, there's an AI in the background running. Same thing, if you use social networking, you have AI running in the background. If you're shopping e-commerce, as long as those e-commerce has millions of items, That's AI usually in the running, in the background, right? Just if you watch Netflix, if you shop at Amazon, that's also AI running, okay? And all of these things, like I said, any good technology is the one that quote unquote disappear. Now with this success from all these various businesses and academia, the government start paying attention. Right? Since 2017, over 20 countries has shared their AI strategies. This is a nationwide and become global now. Because if we really want to nurture this emerging technology, there are three things should happen. The government, the academia, and the industry should work together. The government should, like Pak Rudiantara said earlier, they should create a friendly, business-friendly, and academia-friendly policy. The industry invests billions in this space. Same thing, academia also receive a lot of funding. Usually when these three organizations work together, they will generate innovation at scale, just like what happened with the internet today. Change the way we live. So we expect AI will follow the same pattern like what happened with PC about 30 years ago, what happened with phone 100 years ago, and same thing with the internet 20 years ago. It started from niche area and become general purpose technology. Now if you look this picture, this particular picture, this one slide deserves another talk, but I'm going to highlight a couple of things that related to this particular context. I was fortunate enough to be involved in every major computer evolution for the past 50 years now. I used every one of these technology back then. And if you notice the one that I crossed, the mini computer and workstation, this industry disappear already. What it means is, like that the adoption of technology change, that means the company also can go up quickly, become big quickly because of technology, but equally dangerous, it could also, you could go bankrupt easily too. Because mini computer disrupted mainframe, workstation disrupted mini computer, and then PC disrupted the disruptor to the point they went bankrupt, right? And then the other observation is PC alone was useful. When people running spreadsheet, they are happy. But when PC connected internet, that become exponentially more powerful. Suddenly, PC plus internet, 1 plus 1 become 11. If you combine PC, internet plus mobile, then you have 1 plus 1 plus 1 that become 111. In fact, every generation of this technology, actually it also generates new type of company. There's a mini computer company, there was a workstation company, there was internet company, there's a mobile company, right? The previous speaker said they use technology as a tool, but in this business, in this particular industry, actually the technology generates business. Yes, it does help the other business, the traditional business as well, but in this particular case, it does create a new business. So this is kind of unique about this particular industry. Okay? Now imagine this. If we add PC, internet, mobile, plus AI, what that means is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, that become 1111. So it becomes exponentially more powerful. So I'm going to share with this the observation from the origin of AI, the hypes, the winter, the spring, the breakthrough, the speed of adoption rate of various technology, and then the computer industry evolution. So when we look into this at our group, this thing actually is so powerful, just like the previous evolution like mobile and cloud computing. It could be both a threat as well as opportunity. What happened with our existing companies? What happened with our existing products? What if we create new companies out of this? Right? When you have a breakthrough technology like AI, it's very challenging for a company how to adopt it. For us at GDP Venture Group, it's even more challenging because we are more than just a company, we are a group. We have e-commerce, we have fintech company, we have online learning company, we have media company, we have human resources company, we have legal company. So it's very, very challenging for us how to do it right, how we adopt this to make sure we turn these threats or challenges into opportunities. So I'm going to share with you how we actually did this. So first, we understand I learned AI over 30 years ago. Yeah, there are some of them still remain the same algorithm, the same concept. However, many of them are actually obsolete and they also new ones. So what that means is I have to unlearn, I have to relearn, I have to replace my computer so it can run the AI tools on my machine so I can experiment with this. And I think it impacted me more than most people in this particular technology because I failed to do this in the late 80s. So when I look at the code, I look at the algorithm, I suddenly realize what I missed, what these inventors did right. So I appreciate more than most people the breakthrough of this particular technology. And I understand this is not easy. Any transformation is not easy. So what I did was, I asked everybody in my company, it's a requirement. Everybody has to learn machine learning and deep learning. That's the first step. And then the second step, actually I reorganized my company. I have a horizontal team just doing AI. But we also realized we cannot move fast enough with this because this thing is very fluid and still rapidly moving. Like for example, every day, about 3 p.m. Jakarta time, I receive newsletter from Cornell University. There's always new algorithm coming out from the research community about deep learning and machine learning. So that means it's still moving. Even they make some progress, but it's still very fluid. Unlike mobile and cloud computing kind of stabilized already. And PC obviously stabilized already. But this thing is still fluid, right? So we know that we cannot do this alone. Even after everything we do, ask everybody to learn, we create our own team. So what we did the next thing was, we look for partnership. We also invest. Like I said, we think this is actually a new opportunity. We can create multiple companies, not just a single company. Just like internet company, PC company, and mobile company, there are multiple of them. So we did all of this. But AI is just like any software. You need to localize it. Like we are in Indonesia, it has to understand Bahasa Indonesia, right? So we invest domestically, but we also know we need to partner and invest globally. So this year actually I spent a lot of time traveling, more than usual. So I traveled in those countries in search of the one that can help us out. Actually, this particular investment is different from our other investment. These are mostly strategic investment. What that means is, number one goal is not the financial return. Number one goal is which company that actually can help our group. Our group right now, the GDP venture alone, this is discounting without excluding Jarum Group, excluding BCA Group, just GDP venture alone, we invested over 30 plus companies already with a very diverse portfolio, right? So we do this, my team have been doing this and myself. And then the other thing that we look at, because we have a very diverse companies, but if we abstract that to the high level, if you look at the bottom, what kind of data we have? Usually we have text, audio, video, and images. Right? That's kind of, we abstract this, we oversimplify this. And then the other thing, well, thing that trending now, machine learning and deep learning. But the nature of AI is supposed to be kind of mimic the human behavior. It has to be able to see, it has to be able to listen, to talk, and understand text. So those are the services we are looking for. And then once we have all these building blocks, we practically, just using Lego, we practically can solve any problem we have. So with this observation from this particular slide and the previous slides, this is what we came up so far. So if you look, AI, think about it, the grandfather. Machine learning is the son, and deep learning is the grandson. So what that means is, machine learning is a subset of AI, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So that's the, and then I categorize computer vision, NLP, and speeches. NLP for text, computer vision emulate eyes, and speech for voice. And then so far we have been fortunate. We have these 7 AI companies from various countries. And we are still searching more. So let me go through real quick who these people are. Like 6 Estate. If you look, unlike a lot of startups in this country, even in the US for that matter, we have a professor running this company, and our CEO, this particular CEO, has a PhD. Because AI skill the skill is not widely distributed yet. You can find a lot of these experts in academia. The scientist is the one that, this is kind of different of startup in a way. This is not typical startup, you know, the low tech of the high tech. This is the leading edge of the high tech, right? These are award-winning professors, right? And PhD, CEO, he's actually from a co-director at Tsinghua, based on csranking.org. Tsinghua in Beijing is #1 AI university in the world today. That's based on csranking.org. Okay? They have offices in Singapore and China. Let's go through the next one. This is actually local. Pak Ivan, docent from UI. He is a well-known. If you have a local PhD candidate that learn machine learning and deep learning, most likely they study under him. When BI and President Jokowi looking for big data and AI stuff, he is one of few guys that the government asked for advice. By the way, the previous company, 6 Estate, their advisor is actually one of them is a professor from Tsinghua, and this professor, Tang Jie, is actually the Chinese government AI advisor. So that's his expertise. Again, Pak Ivan also has PhD in this thing, and if you go research in Google Scholar, you can find over 100 papers under his name. He just presented at Tsinghua last month to represent Indonesia about AI. This is another one, Adam Pearl. They specialize in facial recognition. Their vision is to give facial recognition to billions of people. Very simple vision, ambitious, but it's very challenging. So he went to Harvard and Stanford. So he's a business guy. And his co-founder is interesting. This is Professor Jan LeCun, that one of the 3 inventors of deep learning. He's also the research director for Facebook, right? This guy is so influential in this elite community of AI. When the United Nations want to hold a conference, they are willing to reschedule the agenda based on his request, as long as he shows up as the keynote. And then I attended another conference in Beijing, AI mobile conference. He was the keynote speaker. Even there are professor from Berkeley, professor from CMU, professor from Tsinghua. They give the spot to him. The thing that unique that particular event earlier this year, he gave the talk as a keynote speaker remotely using conference. That's to show how influential this guy is in this AI community. This lady, this is the organic. Actually, this is part of GDP Labs. We incubate this. We have about over 30 people now, just focusing in this area. And she's going to get a master's degree in machine learning from Georgia Institute of Technology. This is considered the top 10 AI university in the world. These 3 young guys all has master's degree specialized in machine learning. They focus on OCR, like KYC, take your ICON2018, they convert to text. Because we have so much papers in our office, you need to be converted to digital. They do this through machine learning. This is Woy, actually, I saw her earlier, and Budesi, associate professor from ITB. I think they devoted their life to AI. They've been doing this all their life. They have PhD in this, and we're also invested in this company. And Pak Teguh, the CEO, is also an experience with international experience running international organization. This guy is a young guy from China. He went to New Zealand, to Australia. He got this, I think he has 4 degrees. He's a regular attendance in Silicon Valley, meet up every Thursday for AI and blockchain. He entered the US through what they call a Einstein or genius visa, because this guy is extremely smart. So that's what we have. We've been talking about technology a lot, so I'll kind of remind us what is technology, right? This is a practical application of knowledge, especially in a particular area. Just to remind you, this is from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Now, in the AI world, we don't call them niche market vertical application. The technical term is called narrow AI. What that means is actually a niche, very specific. That's why I want to remind you, technology in particular area, right? So if you look, starting with game AI, computer scientists has been fascinated with games because they think if they can emulate game, they can solve a real world problem, using the same algorithm. So that's why back 50 years ago, they beat checker using AI. And then 21 years ago, they beat the world champion of chess. Now they also beaten last year the best player in Go, right? They also beat poker best player, all using AI. Now, what is the difference between poker versus chess, Go, and checker? The difference is this: game of chess, game of Go, those are actually you have all the information. You can make decisions with all full information in front of you. But that does not represent a real world problem. Because the real world problem is we have to make decisions with some information actually missing. So we have to make calculated risk and educated guess based on what we know. That's what poker in a way simulates that. Because there are some randomness. Every time you shuffle the new card, you could get different cards. And also, some of the cards are closed. So you don't have the whole information in front of you like chess. So they still beat that, right? And there are even modern games like Dota 2, they use AI. Internet, I talk about this. If you use, like search engine, social networking, watch movie, listen music, all those are this. And just like anything else, when you're successful in internet, usually people say, how can I apply this to enterprise? So this is actually potentially $1 trillion market, because when AI become a general purpose technology, basically this is like database, just like PC, like smartphone. It will touch every enterprise, regardless whether you work in fintech, media, e-commerce, whatever you do. Supply chain, logistics, you have to use AI on this one. And then the other one is, as we learn more over the years about this, more and more, now the computer vision, like radiologists, become better than human. Their precision, what they can see, with higher accuracy. Now they can see things, they can listen things, they can speak. What that means is it opens up another opportunity, autonomous car, right? You saw that a lot of news about autonomous car. The thing that less published, but actually is happening now, also autonomous plane. This is one of the reasons why there are over 20 countries investing on this, because one of the reasons is with this autonomous plane, autonomous car, autonomous drones, they can upgrade their military for offense as well as defense. So there's a reason behind it, not only business. Okay? So we are hoping, at least I'm hoping, all this narrow AI, as we learn more about this, we apply more. Hopefully it will become general purpose technology eventually, just like what happened with internet, PC, and smartphone. So there's been a lot of discussion about, well, will AI take over the world, make us all slaves? I don't buy that. At least, I don't think it will happen in my lifetime, so I'm not going to worry about it. I view this thing more like the way we use PC today. We are the driver. The way we use car, we are the driver. Right? So it's complements. Because we have our creativity, we have our expertise for decades. The PC, the AI will complement the way we use spreadsheet, for example. So, back to the first slide question, is it hype or real? Obviously, this is not as simple as a no. But based on that, what I talked for the past 30 minutes or so, for narrow AI, the answer is for real. We see this, we're using this daily. They are here to stay. They are going to be the building block for the future to build a more powerful AI. In terms of general AI, that remains to be seen. Thank you.